MC.
Hello and welcome to Fish Wrap. Each week we bring you accurate fish reports, truthful-ish stories, and honestly, the occasional lie. We'll tell you about the best places to find fish, we'll interview people who regulate and protect our shared resources, and even better, we'll introduce you to the characters who make fishing so fantastic. This week we'll talk turkey about cooling waters and where to find the last of the albies, and where holdover stripers are starting to set up camp. We'll also meet elementary school teacher Phil Capaldi, who will teach us a thing or three about fishing, inspiration, and being humble. We appreciate your support of the Fish Wrap podcast, and as always, thanks for listening. November's cooling seawater is making for some red-hot fishing. Breachways, beachfronts, and river mouths are all full of stripers, and in some spots, even a final few false albacore. As long as an abundance of bait remains inshore, this streak should continue until the first real frost, when stripers pick up the pace for southern climes and a fair share retreat into the salt ponds. In reality, it's supposed to be a lot colder. According to some fishing logs, even snow cold, but repeating warm fronts and a series of rain events, which really didn't chill the upper lens, have blessed us with an extended fishing season. Surface temperatures were holding tight in the high 50 to low 60 degree range from Providence to Block Island, giving migratory game fish like stripers plenty of food, but we know they won't last long. Shallow waters along the beaches and harbors have started slowly sinking into the lower 50s. Quantatog and Charlestown ponds and their breachways have also been producing some keeper-sized bass, mostly at night, with plenty of schoolies hitting topwater lures. Soon, early thin ice starts to seal the lid on calm spots where tides regularly wipe everything clean. Rene Letreneau has been finding albies around Newport on some calm days, keeping his clients happy hauling in fall's favorite fast fish. Captain Jerry Sparks had been finding a few along Watch Hill and up into the Connecticut River, mixed in with schools of really hungry stripers. Captain Sparks is a guy who relies on intuition and common bait sense. When menhaden are in, he throws twitch baits with matching patterns like mirror lures or jig heads with shad tails to entice those lazy fish. Captain Sparks has a keen eye. He sees opportunity when others see flat water with no signs of life. Jerry has several tactics developed over years targeting shallow water fish and guiding customers through worm hatches. For spinning rod soft plastics, he recommended the Got Striper brand because they are molded with a special ribbing, giving them that crucial twitching motion when retrieved. Because you're trying to get the attention of fish surrounded by food, that vibrating action will help draw a strike. CAL jerkbaits from DOA also work well, especially when matched with a dark nickel hook. It's the smallest of details, like too shiny a hook, he told me, that can make all the difference. Soon we'll be reading about catches around Providence hurricane barrier and a few points north. The mouth of the Now River in Narragansett is well known on the striper coast, and for the past few weeks or more, she's been giving up lots of bass. Fishing the mouth typically starts with leaving parking lot lights for a long, fine hike east, while others start at Sprague Bridge, where they head west for the soft sand and easy walking along a big curve where small stripers have schooled up for a millennium, or just straight down a well-worn, grassy bank path to cast in the shadow of a bridge. Phil Capaldi knows all these directions very well. He fishes as hard as a guy can fish, who's also raising 3 children, spending lots of time with family, and teaches 3rd grade. The fishing Jones is always there. It's the fall, man, he said, explaining why he finds time, even really small blocks of time, to go fishing. Narragansett, Barrington, Warren, the South Coast, all these are Phil's haunts. He said, I fish 2 to 3 times a week on average, but only for 2 or 3 hours at most. Come December, his surf rod gets stored, and his Wilderness Systems kayaks gets launched to pursue holdover bass in schools of tasty white perch. Dear Mr. Capaldi, certain special people inspire us, occasionally without ever meeting. You hear stories of their perseverance, dedication, and passion for work, families, and when there's time, fishing. Certain people have no phony veneer, no obvious verbal prestidigitation meant to reroute conversation back to them and their stories. Dear Mr. Capaldi, you're the best teacher ever. That's what one of his students wrote. Phil was Jamestown's Teacher of the Year in 2016. Based on some very low-tech fish wrap style investigation, it's obvious Phil's greatest rewards come from all his kids because he adores his classroom and his own family. But then again, he said, I love to fish whenever I can. Phil downplays much of what he has to say as no big deal or no big secret. He said, quote, no, it's not a secret, referring to his using cocoa minnows to catch bass, proving both my points. He said, you can fish it on the drop or you can jig it, also proving that a simple soft imitation with a small jig head will fool even the wisest striper. You just have to put in your time to catch the big bass, he offered, alluding to a 34-inch striper he landed near the bridge. Phil and his uncle had started where a few guys were casting for schoolies and hickory shad. The two moved east, following that ebbing tide along a sandy edge and tall grasses of a winding river. Crabs scurried along elbows exposed at low water, while grass shrimp, safely buried in daylight sands, crawled and swam through the night. Quick baitfish like silversides and bay anchovies fed parallel to strong tides where the waters are easy, but that's also where, emboldened by darkness, striped bass hunt. The two landed several schoolies along the way. Then at the river mouth, where a few guys were up to their chests in a strong tide, they opted for a return hike. We trudged back, Phil laughed, alluding to how just precarious a nighttime adventure on a river can be. Such wonderful hideouts for protein-hungry late-season bass. Sprague Bridge cast shadows to cover floes and swirls racing past its abutments. Fishermen squint to make out dark dorsals slicing through eddies, pursuing bait on both sides of the river. Splashes and crashes make them jump. Phil's cocoa minnow was just the ticket to get past the shad and land that 34-inch bass that night, which was also his birthday. Inspiration, move me brightly, wrote the people's poet, Robert Hunter. It's easy to sit first, then think about fishing second. It's really easy to say how we wanted to fish, but X and such got in the way, especially as wood stove season approaches. Fishermen like Phil Capaldi, a father and a teacher surrounded by kids who adore him, with so much to juggle and prioritize, are inspired to make the time. Given how nature is holding back the frost, there's inspiration to be had by guys like Phil, and plenty of fish to catch in some very shallow, cooling waters. Fifth round.
MC.